And we
And
are
the schedule
we're
drops.
back.
The schedule drops tomorrow, and he's not here. I have issues with that.
I mean, in fairness, with the schedule dropping tomorrow, it, at the very least, if he were on next week's show, we could talk substantively about it rather than just,
That's true.
you know,
Rather than just sit here and speculate and talk about how horrible Harrison Buckner is as a person.
look, I'm just going to
Fuck
say
that
it.
guy. Yes.
Kickers may be important, but there's a reason they're not first round draft picks. So no one cares.
It's just the idea that, sir, you were drafted in the 7th round. Do you really think you should have an opinion on any goddamn thing?
If there was any job that was capable of being taken by a robot.
Yeah. Or any job that could be taken by a trans woman, a cis woman. They've already had a kicker that was blind. They've already had a kicker that was actually missing part of their foot. Is this really the shit he wants to do?
At the very least, while we're waiting for a proper season, and a proper schedule and all these sorts of things to come together, at the very least, we had the Tom Brady roast. And so we had at least Julian Edelman getting up there and realizing that guy could have a second career as a comedian.
I could live with Julian Edelman, the comedian. I mean, we have the tall hot Jew, which would be Gary Goldman. The hot Jew section of the comic world. I think there's room. They could stick him in there. It could
work. Julian Edelman, Gary Goldman, and Matt Lieb, who I just found out is like 6 foot something.
Well, Julian Edelman isn't that tall.
He's tall, isn't he? He looks tall.
He looks tall. That's the hair, honey. That's the hair, hunty. The hair is herring.
I mean, I'm not saying he's like Michael Crichton tall, but like, a reasonable.
He's 5'10".
What?
I told exactly.
Okay.
Like I said, he can occupy the hot Jew corner with Gary Goldman, but the height thing, he don't belong there.
Because Gary Goldman is 6'6", right?
Yeah. He's still welcome to the cookout.
I mean, if anything, just for the joke, my wife is Sade, not the Sade, a Sade. Like that.
I mean, that's brilliant. That is brilliant and non-punching down, and it creates a sense of intrigue about her.
He has never punched down. It's glorious.
That's what I'm saying. It creates a sense. It doesn't do anything other than create a sense of intrigue. I mean, for Black audiences, it creates a sense of intrigue. I don't know what it does for white people, but for us, that's like, oh, really?
Just good old.
Someone named that child Sade? Oh, that was ballsy.
For my audience, just good old fashioned comedy, or rip roaring time.
Exactly. It's sweet. It's sweet. Because sometimes comedy can be sweet. It's okay if comedy is sweet sometimes.
One of my favorite comedians is Robert Mack. He's not sweet, but it just makes me think like he is the cleanest, least offensive comedian you will ever listen to. But he's very funny. Just that's all it is to it. I don't care.
I would give. Listen, I love dirty comedy, but I always am the type that would give clean comics a shot if they are truly funny. If they are truly funny.
I think Robert Mack is truly funny, but I also love filthy comics like Nikki Glaser and David Tell.
Oh God, David Tell is legend, and I love that for him. I really do. He's an unattractive man who is just unnaturally funny.
It's the simplicity of the joke. I hate to travel because my dad used to beat me with the globe. Like, it's the simplicity of that.
Yeah, there's a simple. He does have a horrible a horrible simplicity to his jokes. And that's part of what makes him kind of awesome. Like like I said, I often think that when for that brief period that Comedy Central was giving comedians non-related, semi-related shows, Dave
Insomniac.
tells the Insomniac was that girl. It's
It,
3 a.m., bitch, and it's 3 a.m. I'm still kind of drunk. I somehow made it home, and I'm going to make myself a grilled cheese and watch Insomniac.
I just remember sitting after midnight watching him visit a water pumping station in New Orleans. At like just
Yeah.
like that's like there's no show that just does this random stuff.
Yeah, or
Anymore.
how he ended up at Gulfstream at the racetrack in Miami. I'm like, we don't do that here, but okay. I think he also went to Wolfie's. God rest him. When it was around too, because Wolfie's is. I'm gonna be honest. Wolfie's was a shit.
I've never been to New Orleans. My father, on the other hand, has a great New Orleans story. Just
Oh no.
walking around the French Quarter at like the end of the '70s, and he just his friend Lester all of a sudden spots their friend from Catholic school on Bourbon Street, or whatever it was there. He also happens to be God, I can't remember the name. There's a motorcycle gang that's pretty much Pennsylvania only. I can't remember the name, but he's one of the members. But either way, he sees him along with one of his other, buddies, gang buddies, and they just walk up and say hi and everything like that. And they just like, it's like shooting the breeze to talk about what they've done, since being in New Orleans. And the other guy goes, yeah, last night we stole a fire truck and drove it around. And like the funny part of it is, they actually did that, or B, they really wanted someone to believe they did that. Either way, what a fun character.
I'm like, I kind of believe it because it's New Orleans. It's not everything weird has to happen in Florida. There's some weird ass shit that might not be us.
Speaking of which, for the audience, Dallas and I are developing a horror trilogy based on the urban legends of the South. Even though I am not a Southerner, I'm more of a story
Mid-Atlantic
type, person. But we're coming. The mythos of the South. It's going to be conceptualized as a thematic trilogy of horror movies that takes place in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. We're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, that triangle of what the fuck are we looking at, kind of makes a lot more sense as evidence as you get some, throw in some indigenous spell casting, some Black American conjuring, and general white people being stupid in public. You might get something.
Well, the former two are the only thing that can defeat Florida Man.
That is very true. That's very true. I do think that we should have a genteel, older, either a trans character or a drag queen being one of the people that can come forth and defeat Florida Man.
Especially in this time of DeSantis.
Yeah, I mean, fuck that guy, but fuck that guy, and your art should always be a chance to let people like DeSantis and Kennedy and Kemp and Randy Fine know that we hate them. And the only reason we can't get them out of office is because the Democratic or Florida Dems suck. Let's put it like this. Organizer memes on Twitter. God love them. They are awesome. I'm a fan of their work. They had a quick poll as to whether they were Team Kendrick or Team Drake. And a couple people said, hey, is Team Macklemore / Team Hines Hall an option? They said, sure. And for me, there are only two right answers, and none of them is Drake. Do you want to know
it's anybody but Drake?
Do you want to know what our good sis Nikki Fried selected?
Don't tell me it was Drake. Please don't tell me
It was Drake.
Oh,
It was
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
Drake. I mean,
It should never be Drake.
this is why the Florida Dems aren't okay. The
Because
head of the Florida Dems selected Drake.
here's
In
how the
what
conversation
universe is that okay?
here's how the conversation should go. Hey, I'm trying to pick a side. Should I pick either Drake, the other one, whoever isn't Drake? I don't need to hear who the other person is. But I didn't even say nope, it's just not Drake. That's
It's
how
not
it should
Drake.
go.
That's how it should have gone. Like, honestly, I would have actually been more respectful. Like, if somebody just said, I don't know who either of these people are, but I know who Macklemore is and he's cool. Or my cousin smoked a doobie with him once, I would literally be like, you know what? That's a fine answer. I'm okay with that. Slancha, kampai. I'm here for it.
I'm a little concerned about where Macklemore's song and his sentiment, taken at face value, very much appreciated. I'm a little bit concerned about his point of view and his motives, considering certain pictures that exist of him. In
What did Macklemore do?
just look up. I don't even want to say it out loud, but just look up Macklemore costume.
Oh no. Was it blackface or was it
It's
blackface
a,
or was it
it's a
or was
lot.
it
It's a lot more applicable to the current situation.
did he do something stupid involving a kafaya?
Oh no! So he put on a gigantic prosthetic nose.
Oh dear God!
Yeah.
say less. Say less. Say less.
It was like
Say less.
worse than Bradley Cooper's.
I still have problems with Bradley Cooper putting on that nose for that movie. That for Maestro. It was unnecessary, Bradley.
Leonard Bernstein didn't have that big a nose.
He really
So
didn't.
Why would you do that?
Exactly, Sirius. Exactly. I didn't understand the reasoning behind it either. And exactly. Dog made great points. Dog made wonderful points.
Sirius, please. Come here, baby boy. Come here, baby boy.
Sirius made wonderful points.
He did.
Sirius has always made wonderful points to the conversation.
He's very vocal in his opinions. So anyway, yeah, Macklemore put on basically the most hideously stereotypical Hasidim dress and everything at this one show he did. And it's just sort of like, in a vacuum, his song and the sentiment, in a vacuum, very much appreciated, very much needed.
But in context of the entire oeuvre de Macklemore,
it would have been better. Oh, he stole some parchment paper. Shall return. Siri, stop the shit.
But when it comes to as surfacey as it may seem for organizer memes to run that little mini poll, it was just interesting to see, you know, who bothered to respond, who didn't bother to respond. And there were some very good moments. As always, Maxwell Frost is the reason why people still put up with Florida, because seriously, he gave a great answer, and of course he was Team Kendrick. Why would he not be Team Kendrick? I was bringing up the fact that Maxwell Frost, representative of Central Florida, I think he's Gen Z in Congress.
I think he's the first Gen Z representative.
And he was very much Team Kendrick, and I was wondering, I really got to figure out how to move into that man's district, because I'm just embarrassing. I'm just sitting here embarrassed as fuck.
I mean, I don't even know if it matters in Florida. Your state house is so horribly lopsided. Yeah, I mean, isn't it a veto-proof majority?
Pretty much. It's pretty much whatever they can do.
Even if you get like a good governor in there next term, I don't even.
Yeah, it's a glass cliff for whoever gets it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he was team Kendrick as he should be. And I'm going to be honest, I've been enjoying this. I'm not going to lie. This has been very enjoyable for me.
It's fun because Drake deserves to be taken down a peg, and he deserves to have to know, to have it permeate his world how much he isn't liked and how much everyone knows he's an alleged pedophile.
Yeah, it's the fact that he's getting his Hannibal Buress moment. He probably doesn't know it. He probably don't want to admit it to himself, but
And I love that Kendrick is his Hannibal Buress.
and for me it's the fact that for me it's when he it's the not like us. On one hand, there's a lot of things which, as a first generation American, watching people who are very much watching the black anti-immigrant sentiment get a shot in the arm from not like us was a little unnerving. Was a little unnerving. But at the same time, it's the fact that yes, Drake is Canadian, but because Drake has done so much wrong to the hip hop community, has not checked in, has not shown, what honor and what respect needs to be shown. It's to the point where Kendrick, where I think this is a first where someone says to a mixed rapper, we don't want to hear you say the N-word anymore. You don't deserve it. That is not your place anymore. I mean, to be told that you cannot say the N-word.
Staying out of this.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. But it's the idea that but also the fact that with Not Like Us, because that became such a great everyone's like, oh, Kendrick is great. And Kendrick is great. Kendrick's really thoughtful, Pulitzer Prize winner, etc., etc. And Drake's like, he can't make a dance song.
Who cares?
I mean, on one level, yes, you're right. Who fucking cares? The man has a fucking Pulitzer Prize. They don't give those to rappers. But it's the fact that the 1-2 punch of Drake being dumb and insulting a producer who basically said, he told this producer, he told his producer, oh, listen, go make some beats. And what did he do? He made a beat and he made it free to use. Like, we theoretically could have used that as our intro and outro and nothing would have happened. Theoretically.
If I could boot up Ableton and get I don't know, get something down.
Like, let's put it like this. Like, a microbiologist that I follow who lives in Buffalo, she dropped in a verse. Like, people, this is the distrumental. It's the fact that he literally said, hey, internet, you want in on this? You want to have something to say on this beef? Here's your chance. The democratizing of beefs. That,
And there's something way more epic about this. Like it transcends like that whole Meek Mill moment. Like this is beyond that.
Yeah, it's beyond back to back. I hate to break it to Drake, but hip hop had a quantum leap moment at his expense. A beef went global. You had people giving verses in French, Spanish, Japanese, Turkish.
I wish Mac Miller were alive for this.
Oh God, he would have done something. Like, and people recutting the beefs to the beat to Megan Thee Stallion. And now Megan Thee Stallion looks like she actually is a lot badder because now people are realizing that some of her verses, she wasn't talking about Nicki at all, which is why she didn't address Nicki.
No one needs to address her. I don't think someone such as myself it makes sense for me to hate her as much as I do.
Nicki
But
Minaj.
yeah, I think it's just sort of like I
Hating Nicki
hate
Minaj
her
isn't.
for the shit she slings at people who are clearly one like it's don't sling shit at Megan, don't sling shit at Cardi. Like that's why I hate Drake too. Let's call it what it is because the god awful his it goes beyond tacit, but his like sort of sly support for Troy Lanez and his like the way he stole that shit from that from he asked Halle Berry for permission to use that thing of her and she was like no and he did it anyway.
Yeah, that really just got me like.
It's sort of like why are you fucking with good people? Why?
It's it like Drake
And
lost. I'm late to the. I wouldn't say I'm late to the Drake. I would say I'm reasonably late. I was ambivalent towards Drake, but I truly crossed over to the nah fuck Drake when he went after Halle. What? Why did you? Why you involve Auntie Halle in this, Aubrey? What did Auntie Halle do to you?
she
She
is
been
like
sitting in. She been sitting in the mezzanine with all of us for a minute. So what? Why? Why, Aubrey? Jimmy Graham would not be proud of you right now.
there's a certain level with Halle Berry. There's a certain like in an alternate universe, if they had ever gone down the route of following Black Spider-Man into a real movie instead of using Tom Holland, we know they went with Marissa Tomei as basically the sexy Aunt May,
Yeah.
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry would have been, yes, Halle Berry would have been the aunt, would have been Aunt May. That's
She'd have
not
been
even
the
a
sexy Aunt
question.
May of that universe.
Yeah, that's not even a question. It's just what pisses me off is the fact that Drake Drake thinks that if he tosses some pity verses at plus size women and acts like he acts and does that kind of shit and that we're gonna be okay. Baby, no. We know who you really are. We know what you really fuck with. We don't do that here.
So I think now that we're about half hour in, I think we've provided enough cushion of happier or more fun topics to talk about.
Yeah.
We will get to Israel Palestine perhaps another time. We've talked about it before.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
have.
anybody who all 10 of you who watch this know that how plainly outraged we are. It's exhausting talking about it.
It's psychologically, it feels psychologically futile on a lot of levels because the Israeli state literally does not care and they will hold its origin story up as a shield. And to me, it's the actions that the Israeli state currently are conducting outweigh is it doesn't outweigh, but it makes the shield look flimsy. It does not outweigh the shield, but it does make the shield look flimsy and not worthy of the moral authority that the moral authority to hold it.
I think it's it's enough to say that it feels particularly defeating because with the human rights abuses in Iran, we were able to sort of vicariously cheer on the resistance that was going on, but the stakes were nothing for us. We were already, Iran has already been sanctioned out the ass, and
That part.
we're not providing them all of this ridiculous amounts of military aid and weapons. So there's a certain degree of being divorced from that. Same with the Sudanese civil war, same with the Syrian civil war, same with everything else. There's a certain
Yeah, and
amount.
with Congo, we don't really we've already sanctioned a lot of the people involved. We have punished them one way or another.
This it's sort of it's beyond sort of negligence, lack of condemnation or action. I mean, we are subsidizing We are directly subsidizing.
Yeah, and we block one shipment. I mean, I appreciate that we did it, but we block one shipment and people are saying, "Oh, you've left them defenseless." They grown. They got their own money.
It also goes to show you what there is no good that can come from siding with the fascist at any point. That is what the Israeli government has become. It has become a fascist government, and I realize there are a lot of people who like to say that it's been a fascist project. I mean, it was kind of a communist colonial project at one point.
She's been a lot of things. She wears a lot of hats.
Project. It's been a right-wing project, but at heart, it has been a colonial project. And
she been a lot of things. She got a lot of outfits in the closet.
Right now, it is a fascist government, and it is thankless to support a fascist government because Biden has been the most obsequious of presidents when it comes to permitting and defending Israel, to the point where he went beyond Ronald Reagan's level of permissiveness.
And that's a lot. That is saying a whole hell of a lot.
Ronald Reagan put a premature end to the invasion of Lebanon in the 80s by basically invoking the Holocaust and getting Begin to just chill the fuck out. And to that extent, Biden has done absolutely nothing except have some aides leak to Axios that he's very, very mad at Netanyahu. He's been very vociferously defending of Israel,
and I think it's
more. And then the one time he offers any resistance, President Ben-Gvir says Biden hearts Hamas. That's it. That he tweeted Biden heart Hamas right after that.
Baby, and I'm just like, and this is the point where I would just be like, check out Treasury. Do you not have money? Do you not have money? You have money, right? Go buy it. If you that pressed.
I think it's just more, it just illustrates more to me that, from the beginning, in the very beginning, after it happened, I was very clear and vocal in the fact that there is going to be a lot of rising anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim, anti-Arab bigotry happening, and we need to be cautious of it and careful of it. And I was very clear in my unwavering condemnation of what Hamas did, and it's been very, very clear of the right of Israelis to feel safe. But at the second that I offered any resistance to how Israel conducts itself as a state, it still became a case of people telling me, this is on Twitter. I mean, I get that, Twitter, it's not a lot of real people on Twitter, but
yeah, there's not.
I have been called an anti-Semite, and I've been called, pro-Hamas numerous times. I
don't know if I've been lucky. I don't know if I've been lucky enough, but I mean, I usually couch it in terms of the Israeli state don't know how to act. If they're supposed to be an example, they're not acting like it. If they are supposed to be a more moral country, a outpost of democracy, these are all the things I was drilled into. They are not living up to the advertising and what the fuck.
I mean,
that's how I so far, no one said anything to me yet. I think it's mostly because I just keep using the terms the Israeli state, because that, unless you have a beyond a natural devotion to them to the point where you can't see any wrong action on their part, you can't really make that jump. I know somebody can if they try, but it would seem like it's going to seem like a reach. But if I, and I'm just like, if you're going to bomb a hospital, is the hospital Hamas? Is it really? Can y'all jump on a live and show me with no cuts or edits or special effects? Can you do that?
Or
no? Then
clearly,
what did you do?
Geographical geolocation evidence. The other, I mean, every single learning facility, every single university in Gaza is gone. And that's why I personally can't give a fuck about a broken window and some messed up sconces in a university library.
Honestly, it's the fact that they've gone beyond destroy. Like, early in this thing, they showed braggingly a fourth floor apartment, a single apartment that was taken out by an airstrike. And I'm like, well, would you look at that? So you can target people individually.
Well, I mean,
Why are you not doing that instead of blowing up entire city blocks and entire universities? Tell me why. I'm sorry. I'm like,
half the bombs that they have dropped are unguided, quote, dumb bombs.
Thank you. And if y'all are supposedly the most moral government, if you are supposedly the only outpost of democracy, if you are better than Hamas, then why are you consistently using these rather than actually you publicize that you have the world's best snipers? Let's see them. You've publicized that
those are for shooting people in wheelchairs, and those are for shooting reporters in the kneecaps from 300 yards away from the fence, and those are for crippling hundreds of people yards and yards and yards away from the fences.
And what? Like,
it's just the idea that and I've gone back to say it over and over again. What Hamas did on October 7th demanded a response. It did not demand this response. And I'm going to keep saying
it really didn't. It really didn't. They really didn't need to do all that. Like I said, y'all got bombs that supposedly can take out a single apartment. Why are you taking out whole apartment blocks? In other words, you have sold us a advertisement. You are not living up to the advertisement. What the fuck?
Well, hence the, videos and TikToks and Facebook and all these sort of English language promotional videos that are sort of like, do you remember that computer illustration of the multiple floors of Hamas tunnels under Al-Aqsa Hospital?
Yeah, it seemed that, and they never showed us what that looked like in real life, and I was very unimpressed by it.
Yeah. It's just a matter of if Hamas committed atrocities on October 7th, and they did,
yes,
then why the need for subterfuge? Why can't the truth of their atrocities be enough? And the reason is because it is manufacturing consent for the ethnic cleansing that's going on. It is the post 9/11 hysteria equivalent of gearing us up to invade Iraq.
For me, it's the fact that if you say, yeah, we're going to relent and allow for aid to come through, and then you let overly motivated civilians destroy the aid that's supposed to come through, what am I supposed to fucking think of your government? Do you really have a control on this? Or is it that you kind of are okay with all of this and you're just going to let it go?
They were comfortable having law enforcement in Israel use fire hoses against anti-Netanyahu protesters when he tried to reform the courts.
Yeah, and also the fact that they are not listening to the families of the hostages that have been taken. They're basically like, okay, you served your purpose, moving on. I'm like,
well, if the people of Gaza are starving, then the hostages are starving too.
And that also means that the people, in all likelihood, the fact that they pretty much flattened Gaza with no infrastructure. I don't think they're around anymore.
John Fetterman saying, after atrocity after atrocity, continue coming out and saying, John Fetterman saying things like Hamas is responsible. Like, you are saying, if you're saying that Hamas is responsible for every atrocity committed by the IDF, you are basically saying that they are nothing but rabid dogs with no agency or brain. They are a military organization who can make choices. And if you're trying to tell me that, oh gosh, it's like, you kicked the hornet's nest, I'm like, well, they're not hornets. Let's dispense with that nonsense now. It is the why are you hitting your self-defense?
Yeah.
It is,
and by now,
and that's why you had a black eye defense. It is the abusive husband defense. That's what it is. And I'm kind of tired of the litany of bullshit. And it's just that you don't need to take a heinous atrocity to manufacture consent for a horrifying
You
ethnic
really don't.
cleansing. And you can quibble with the words and say, "Well, isn't it?" I don't even give a fuck. It's just wrong. We can leave it at that. It's just wrong.
And what's worse is in the back of my head, I already know that, people are acting like there's actually a fucking choice in November. And I'm like, no, there really isn't. Unfortunately, there really isn't that. I mean, or there's a shitty choice. And looking at it, it's going to be a case of, are we going to have Palestine get destroyed quickly, or is it going to be a little, or can we buy them 6 weeks, or are we going 6 weeks at a time here?
I think it's a matter of we are basically. I used to use before this started. I used to use the metaphor of your guide elections are basically guiding a plane to crash in the water instead of into a mountain. And now it just kind of feels like, all right, are we are we doing like mountains or slightly less bad mountains? Either way,
Or mountains are rolling or cockpit country. Mountains or cockpit country.
I just think I am not going to say like ultimately like if you I maintain if you vote for Trump, I don't fuck you, but like
Yeah, honestly,
it's more a case of I am not going to tell someone who is witnessing the horrors that are going on that they must vote for Biden. Biden should change course and earn those votes.
yeah.
What I will say is my personal choice is that I'm going to vote for Biden, not because I believe he will change course, but because Trump's own statements and point of view indicate that he will be, as
Worse.
horrifying as it is to conceptualize, much more pervasive. And that means I think he will open the door to the complete annexation of Gaza and the West Bank if he is.
Yeah, he will
allowed.
absolutely sign off on the annexation and the destruction of Gaza, because Lord knows his son-in-law has said that there's some really good beachfront property there, and Lord knows a slumlord can't say no to that shit. And it's a case of, bro, it's a case of, I really am not in the mood to have somebody say, you're queer, you're unfuckable, you're black, and you're plus size into the orphan crushing machine with you.
I think it's a matter of Trump will. I do believe that Trump will absolutely be worse for Palestine, and it is not,
Yeah, it's
and that
just,
does
it
not mean that I think Biden
is
is
going to be
a
better.
horrific monster on
In
the
other
map.
words, in other
It's
words, it's like, I hate the status quo, but there are things that are worse than the status quo.
it's
That's the best way I can put it. I hate the status quo, but there are things that are worse than the status quo.
and
I don't
ultimately the only hope we have of changing the current system, aside from a full and complete revolution, which I
we
am
don't have the stomach
not.
for. Listen, the American people do not have the stomach for an actual full scale balls to the wall revolution. We do not have the stomach for it. We have watched other people do it and fail. We are not interested. As a people, we don't do that.
And I think the accelerationists and people who I wouldn't say are accelerationists, but who are saying it couldn't be worse under Trump, or maybe we need Trump to come back better, are just they don't understand how
He is,
horrifying
and they don't
turning
understand.
down the system is to create a new one.
And many of them do not understand the basics of how government works, and the fact that this is a 200-year-old, very delicate clock that someone has managed to get their hands on and adjust the engineering a little bit.
Yeah.
You can either get it to somebody who will take forever to disassemble it and get it back into something resembling proper working order, or they can take it to somebody who will absolutely throw it off a cliff and never to have it repaired again.
Given, the particulars, that I absolutely believe, given Trump's statements, that he would be worse for the Palestinians. Somehow, as hard as that is to conceive, it would be worse.
Oh, I know it would be worse.
And the fact that he is also an institution destroyer.
And the fact that he has people like Johnny McEntee, who do you know that man can actually forge Trump's signature, and he showed it off on a podcast.
Oh joy.
Yeah. And as Trump slides into senility, and I'm saying this as somebody who is watching their own father slide into this, who is sliding into the early stages of dementia, you do not want that in the White House. You absolutely do not want that in the White House. I know what dementia looks like.
We also don't know if the system is destroyed. We don't know by Trump. We also don't know how long it will be destroyed before. I know he's an old man, but dynasties are a thing, especially in a non-democratic fascist.
That part. Do not be shocked if next thing you know, he runs for a third term. He dies in the middle of the third term. He appoints Johnny McEntee. He appoints Bill Barr. He appoints Eileen Cannon. I don't know. He appoints any of the little motherfuckers that have been slurping his shit.
From real democracy to a democracy in name only, because it doesn't have to become a fascist.
It really doesn't.
It can be like
Hungary. We don't.
And then also there's the fact that Gaddafi stayed in power for what, 30, 40 years?
Yeah.
The idea that if we need a revolution, well, how long will it take for that revolution to occur? And how horrifying will it be when it does for everyone involved?
This is good. Yeah, I need people to watch something that's bloodless, that's going on right now. I need people to watch The Islands. Right now, as I said, we've discussed before, Jamaica is talking about getting rid of the crown. I told you it will take probably 25 years, and that's accelerating it.
I wish them luck.
I do too. You have no idea how much I wish them luck.
Oh my God, that picture of King Charles.
Saw it. That was art by Lady Diana Francis Spencer. I have a feeling, hopefully, Archie and Diana will look at that and be like, that was Grandpa? Well, that was the best, most accurate picture of him.
It captures his soul.
It really does.
It also captures fantasies that I am sure a lot of people have had.
Oh, no. Listen. Colonialism Survivor Twitter was given life. Life, I tell you. We tried to act like, oh, no, that's such a horrible painting. My God. But in reality, we're like, accurate. Photograph quality.
Oh, my God. That painting is so hard. No. Keep it.
I have a feeling even Harry will go take a look at it and say, it's close. Meghan will be like, it's accurate, we're gone. We're not looking at it any longer. We are not beholding it any longer. That shit might be haunted. Let's go. Baby, let's go and take the kids. We gone.
I just know somewhere there's an Aborigine who saw that painting is going, my dream come to life.
Exactly. Oh, I already know there's at least 5 Jamaican grandmothers who've seen this in a dream. At least 5. I mean, and by the way, Harry and Meghan did go to Nigeria. They gave her a title in Nigeria. They're like, no, here's a title. All your own. Here. This is for you. We wanted to give this to you directly. And here's some sacred cloth. They probably gave her some other shit too that we won't.
Oh man, that's just great.
They probably gave her some other shit, maybe magical shit. I don't know, and I do not care. But Nigeria said, "Oh no, we are bestowing her a title."
I really hope King Charles had a stroke, like a little mini stroke after that.
Because let's put it like this. I mean, William and Kate can theoretically go, and note I said theoretically. They can theoretically go to Nigeria. They're not getting a title. They ain't getting shit.
Oh man.
It's like the time William and Kate went to Jamaica and they didn't even and Prime Minister Holness didn't even let them sit down. Like, no, we're talking now. We're talking about getting rid of you guys.
Oh my gosh. I love
Oh
it.
no, Juliet's fine.
So one
So,
one
yeah.
more little sad subject before a better subject before we end the show, and
Yeah.
that is what seems to be the imminent passing of Jimmy Carter.
Sucks. But you know what? I only have one. I have one consolation. He outlives Kissinger. Not for long, but he did it. And I
Yeah,
love that for him. I love that he got to see everyone realize what a horrible person Kissinger was.
and I love that there's enough time gone by that Kissinger's eyes have been repeatedly picked out by Cambodians.
And that he can, and that, like I said, I honestly feel that this was, that this is the very, I feel like this is the very least blessing that he can be given at this time in his life.
It's gonna
People
be
like him.
that's one of the things. Even people who did not particularly like his presidency all seem to agree he's a decent man. I wonder, if Trump will be invited to the funeral.
No,
I mean,
I wouldn't.
he wouldn't show. I know that Melania
As
showed
good of
Rosalind Carter's, which was
awkward.
yeah. Although I'm not,
It was.
I don't give a shit as much as I used to about decorum, and I think that might be the last vestiges of liberalism leaving my body is not giving a fuck about decorum because I noticed this people when
I only give a fuck about decorum in conjunction with safety. For me, it's like decorum can be a form of safety, but that's for me.
it's more a matter of I remember Trump's 2015-2016 campaign when the media actually pushed back on him on his cursing, and he stopped cursing as much as he used to, and it's just like that's where that's is. Have you tried asking him to not do other stuff? And I'm still just
For most of the upper echelons of journalism, this is still just a grad school exercise until they start getting dragged out of their offices. There, I said it.
Mm.
For most upper echelon journalists, this is all just a grad school exercise.
I try to support independent, journalists as much as possible, but so many of them are still going out of business. So many of them are still laying off workers if they're not going out of business.
I'm now to the point where I'm just supporting individual writers.
I think that's
it's frustrating, but if you pick individual writers or individual scholars, it's a little less heartbreaking. It feels futile, but it's less heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's just this sort of I am sad that I look on news as the kind of thing that did not used to be a product, but it had to become a product
in order to survive, and now that term of survivability is ending.
Yeah, news shouldn't ever be a product; it should be news.
It really shouldn't.
But whatever, that's the hellscape we live in, and
welcome to dystopia.
Yeah. On a more hopeful note, I really can't get enough of how much of a petulant baby Trump is about his criminal trial.
Yes,
and
my God, he is like they're still giving him special treatment, but he's still not able to. He's not able to roll with it. I mean, when you think about the fact that the average American has been to a courtroom and can act better than Trump can 6 out of 7 days of the week, I mean, okay.
I,
I mean, and the fact that he's been given opportunity after opportunity not to be an asshole. Like that judge, and I'm gonna be honest, Judge Marchand is a snack. An entire snack. I swear to
Gray
God.
Fox is.
Yeah. Oh God. If if we are in a room where there are no others, I would. All things being equal. Yes, I put that accent on. I do apologize, but
There's, I
yeah,
think
it
there's a
needs
type
to
of
be done.
being incredibly cautious to try to
Yeah.
make sure that whatever decision is reached will be appeal proof.
Yeah,
Because
and I
they're going to try
that's
to appeal the verdict. They're also going to try to appeal some
mhm.
technical aspects of it.
And
They're
I
going to
appreciate, like I said, I hate the pace that it's resulting in, but I understand every bit of why Marchand's like, all right, I'm gonna have to do this absolutely in such a way that I never want to have to speak of this case again.
to the point where he has been fined instead of jailed for 11 instances of
Exactly.
11 instances of contempt. And to give an idea for those who don't have much experience, so there are instances where judges will put people in contempt and hold them for a day short of what
29
is,
days.
yeah,
I think it's 29 days, right?
yeah.
Yay, public law one. Yeah, I took one class of public law one. I got like a C, and I
It,
hated every minute of it. And I'm like, no, I can't be a lawyer. I'm sorry.
Michael Cohen was a lawyer. Rudy Giuliani was a lawyer. You can be a lawyer. Like literally,
Yeah, I
like
mean, it's
I said,
like
I
there's
said
enough black women lawyers that there's probably at least a good, strong group
is
that could have
Oliemi a
really,
lawyer? Or
huh?
is Oliemi a lawyer? Okay.
Yes,
I don't
yes, she
watch her
is.
often, but so often enough to know for sure. But like,
Yes, my
I
girl.
see, I
Her
see her
and
videos when she
her and
fucking spanked Mayor. What's his fuck?
oh god, that was it. She was that like she is like the hard left does not know like if the cocaine left stopped being the cocaine left and got sober, that's your girl right there.
I avoid using the term cocaine left just because somebody who's like one of the most horrific people in the universe uses it habitually. So I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, cocaine left, dirtbag left.
Dirtbag left is
Yeah, like if the dirtbag left got they shit together, that's your girl. But we all know they're not gonna get their shit together.
yeah. But just to give you like I say this as like look, I went through law school, I graduated law school, I took the bar, I passed the bar, I got my license. I'm telling you, anybody can do this.
But that's a lot. But it's the work and it's the fact that you have to spend like hours in the library looking for
Yeah,
case law and precedent. No, bitch,
yeah.
we're not doing all that.
No, it's a matter of like nobody can do it without effort, but I am saying that it does not take again, Rudy Giuliani
It
and
doesn't
Michael
take
Cohen.
deep intellect to be a lawyer. It's
It
just the
does.
fact that I
It takes deep intellect to be a good lawyer.
good lawyer.
But I am saying the becoming a lawyer part, the getting through law school and passing
Yeah.
the bar, that does not take the skills that it takes to be a great litigator in any
But
respect.
yeah, like I said, I know my basics from public law one. I'm glad I took it though. I honestly think everyone should take public law one. Honestly, because it just gives it for me, it explains so fucking much. Yeah, so I took public law one. I understand how contempt works. Judges will hold you for 29 days to avoid that 30-day deadline. So, yeah, you were saying about contempt?
Just that this judge is going out of its way to show favorable treatment to Trump. And I know that Trump and people like J.D. Vance and senators like Tommy Tuberville and whatnot.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Listen, Tommy Tuberville, I already know I can go before the Lord and say that I am smarter than Tommy Tuberville, and he will look at me and say, that is correct. You are.
maybe not everyone could be a lawyer. I don't think Tommy Tuberville could be.
He's not. He decided to be a high school. He decided to be a football coach, which is probably as much as his intellect could take. Memorizing patterns and human behavior is difficult. Is memorizing patterns and human behavior as it fits on a 120 some odd yard field over the course of 4 downs and a kickoff. It's actually not as hard as you think.
It's one of those stupid, like a Fox things. Plenty of people can recognize patterns and can solve puzzles, and they don't have the great analytical intellect that it would take to, say, understand the geopolitical realities of why, for example, saying if Israel, someone says if Israel really wanted to commit a genocide, they could. It's like, no,
They are though.
If they really would go in and just slaughter everybody and wipe it clean with like a like every bomb and kill everybody, then all of their neighbors would invade. They need to give this plausible deniability. Well,
plausible deniability that isn't plausible to the neighbors, but plausible to the West.
Yeah, and as long as
like that's always the part that people forget.
If they go too far for the West to stomach, and the West completely turns it back on Israel, then Israel is fucked. And that's all it is. And I know, yeah, they may possibly have a nuke or two, but. But anyway, Tommy Tuberville doesn't understand like shit like that. He understands how many players they have in this position and that position. But the point is, he's a stupid motherfucker.
Everyone would know that.
We were a little bit scattershot. It was our first episode back in a long time, and I did not want to talk about the college campuses stuff and stuff like that. All I will say is,
I'm just emotional. For me, I'm just like, well, okay, it's not as. It's horrible. Luckily, it did not get to this. It did not degenerate to the level that it could have, would have, or should have. But,
we had people calling for the National Guard to be called out. We had senators saying that. We had one of these students is like a professor at their own school calling for it. So, all I will say is there have absolutely been documented instances of anti-Semitism and anti-Arab and anti-Muslim.
And racist, and just good old anti-blackness for a little razzle dazzle.
Yeah, down at Ole Miss. Yeah.
I mean, where could it be but Ole Miss? Where could it be but Ole Miss? And the dude admitted to it. He's like, "Yeah, that was me." And then now he got mad because he got kicked out of his fraternity. I'm like, listen, your fraternity brothers still speak to you. You are still probably their friend on. You probably still are their friend on College U or MySpace or whatever the fuck they're using. You didn't really get kicked out as much as you were sacrificed. We know that at the heart of it, Fidel don't care. They
really don't. Sherman didn't go far enough. That's all I'll say.
And as a Sherman appreciator, listen. With
that, we're going to call it a night, and we will just say, Jimmy Carter, peace be with you, and we hope your transition is as easy as possible. We love you.
Facts.
Good night, everybody.